welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. We are back again for episode number 47. I am your host tonight, and my name is Shorty, and I'm joined by just a couple of beans. So we have Cracker on the line. How's it going, mate?
Pretty good, thanks, mate.
That's the way. And we also have Chew. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, yeah. Can't complain. Life's going well. Still living it up in lockdown, but hopefully we'll be out of this situation soon and we can get back to some sort of normal life.
Living La Vida lockdown. That's right.
Ouch.
You'd have something for that.
Yeah.
All right, so back again. We have plenty of things to talk about tonight. We're going to be pretty focused on the new standard format. We've been playing some of the format ourselves, and we've been hearing or watching a lot of other people playing. And I think there's quite a bit to talk about. But before we get into any of that, Cracker, do you want to tell us who our sponsors are?
Absolutely, Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They are a Facebook-based auction site. They run auctions for physical Magic cards. I know, that's still a thing. Every night of the week with special auctions run over the weekend. And they're awesome. You know, you can pick up some really good bargains. They do wonderful support for us and, you know, helping us with our leagues and things. They have a dedicated auctioneer, so packages get out on time and, you know, everything arrives nice and safe and sound, and they're just absolute legends. So go check them out. You can find them, just search Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar anywhere on the internet and you'll come across them.
I think you've got a few packages from them this week, Chewy.
I have. We're just talking precast. I've got some commander upgrades on the way, and I've got my eye on a few more at the moment. Actually, got some current bids. So if I have some pauses while we're recording, it's because we're getting close to end of auction time. So I apologise in advance.
I'm a little conflicted about telling people about these guys, though, because then it has more people bidding against us.
Oh, but they have auctions every single night, like multiple lots every single night.
True.
So there's plenty of bargains to go around. So it's pretty good. Very good. Lots of value.
All right. So, as I said, we've got lots to talk about tonight. And, we're going to start off talking about the early access event that all three of us on this cast participated in last week. And, I think the last time we recorded, we weren't quite allowed to talk about it just yet. It hadn't sort of been officially announced that we had been invited back again. But, we were lucky enough. Wizards put on these events every new set release and, invite a bunch of content creators, which I guess we are these days.
Cracker's an influencer, but we're content creators. Yeah.
Don't even.
And it's pretty funny when you're sitting on the couch or, you know, doing whatever and your watch beeps and you're like, oh, I've got an email from Watsy. You click it and, like, it comes up in capital letters, confidential. And you're like, serious. Yeah.
Yep. So
in the inner sanctum, right? Yeah.
Yep. Something they put on every new set. And, effectively the day before the set goes live on Arena, they give all these people effectively a god account where we have, how many gems do we have? Like over 1 million gems or something
like that, yeah.
It was so good.
It's pretty cool and pretty fun to have a fully stocked account. But yeah, the whole purpose of it is to showcase the new set before it goes live out to everybody else and have a good time brewing with the new decks and things like that. So Chewy, you kicked off the event for us. How did you find it?
It was great. So we once we were allowed to talk about it, we put out the call on our Discord asking our Beans community for some deck lists, and we got a number, which was great. The response was really good from the crew, and there were a lot of really interesting decks that came in the days leading up to it, and like whilst we're live on stream, we got sent a couple of sweet lists as well, and it was really, really fun. I started at 9 a.m. our time. I on a little bit of leave from work at the moment, so I had the time, so I jumped on and built a bunch of decks. I built a 4-color Omnath deck.
That deck must be garbage.
No, I can't imagine that deck being any good in the current standard. I've got a bit of a soft spot for like red, white aggressive decks that include equipment because once upon a time my wife used to come and crush F&Ms with similar decks. So I played and I wanted to see what the new Nahiri was like. So I've jammed a little bit of that and a few other brews along the way. And it was really fun because it's not a super spiky event. Like everybody wants to just play the new cards. It's
meant to be pretty casual.
Yeah, I was playing cards that were in the new set, even though, a better version of a card may have existed in Standard already. I was only playing cards that were actually in the new Standard, Shorty. But
hang on, you didn't have Uro in your deck?
No, I didn't have Azusa in my deck, in my landfall deck.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, I was definitely playing Uro. But yeah, Shorty got found out when he first took over because he was playing a mill deck, mono blue mill deck, I believe, that had some cards that weren't actually allowed. So he did a really quick rebuild on stream, and that went well. But yeah, it was really cool to see. You get paired against some big time streamers, some MPL players, other content creators. So it's pretty cool to be part of that event with some people that are way bigger fish than what we are, and kind of get to rub virtual shoulders with them, which is it's a bit cute. The format seems great. During that event, the format seemed really, really cool. Nobody was playing any decks that were at all tuned. It was, I don't know, it felt like Magic when we first started playing. When your friends are just playing the cards they have, or
you just build whatever.
Yeah, and I'm sure there were people like interacting with their chat on stream, building decks on the fly, right?
Well, you Cracker, you had to go up building a deck live on stream.
I took over kind of right at the tail end, so all of the stuff that was kind of known archetypes before, as in like everyone was hyped on like blue black rogues, obviously being a pretty popular idea to start with. Everyone likes that kind of idea. Obviously, the Omnath deck was pretty powerful. There was the red-white equipment deck. So there was a few really kind of obvious archetypes that people were playing throughout the day. And I wanted to try some stuff that was different so that we could see, like, are there other things that people haven't explored yet? So one of the cards I wanted to build around was Leyline Tyrant. So I built like a big red kind of deck.
Chunky red.
It wasn't very good, but like I enjoy brewing on stream with people for these kind of things where you can just go, all right, well look, let's see what dumb things we can do. We'll play I played like Iron Crag Feet, right? Which is it's like 1 triple red and it gives you like 7 mana. And you
gets
can only
played in Muxus in Goblins in Historic now.
There you go. You can only play 1 more spell for the turn though. But I played like Leyline Tyrant, and then I could cycle like Yadaro or like pump the mana into the Tyrant and stuff. So like we got to do some silly things. It was fun. And then I also played a red-black kind of party-themed deck, which was actually a lot of fun. One of the guys in our Discord put that one together. I'm pretty sure it was Hemsy who sent that one through.
Yeah, ain't no party like a Rakdos party.
Exactly. And so I had a bunch of fun playing that. We got a couple more wins. But yeah, I mean, the event was fun. I really enjoyed it. I didn't take the day off like you guys did, but maybe next time I'll see if I can tee that up.
What I like about this...
Get some more games in.
Yeah, what I like about this style of event, and I think what a lot of people at least in our community have took the opportunity to do was go, I've got this idea and I want to see if it's any good without me having to spend any wildcards on it.
Yeah.
Right? So
yes.
it's like
Shorty and I have both learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah. Oh, we've all wasted wildcards along the way, absolutely. But it was a really good opportunity, and I guess for anybody listening who hasn't tuned into these events when they come, the day before a new set is released. It's a really good chance to go, well, I've got this idea. So hit up your local content creator, your favorite content creator, join our Discord. Yeah. And, we'll play anything, like there's nothing at stake. It's just about having a go at the new cards and having a bit of fun. And, we did that and we got to play some pretty sweet decks. Shorty, you probably streamed the longest out of all of us. I had to go and, deal with a unwell kid at one point, so I had to hand over the baton ahead of schedule. So you kind of did the marathon side of it. Crack and I just sort of bookended it. But what did you play?
Yeah, I played a good mix. I think I ended up streaming for like 7 hours in total over the day. Like you kicked it off at 9 a.m. and Cracker, you wrapped up basically. Well, you literally got kicked out of the.
I did, yeah.
Out of the thing at the end, so just a bit after 11. So, yeah, very very long time for us to be streaming, and massive shout out to our followers out there that stuck with us for a lot of it. Like we had pretty consistent numbers throughout the day, and it was
for 14
awesome
hours,
to see. Yeah, awesome to see people sort of jumping in and out, and watching while they're at work, and then I'm just about to leave work. I'll jump back on when I get home and things like that. So yeah, really cool. Massive shout out to all the people that came and joined us. Makes it much easier when you're streaming, when people are actually watching and they're interacting with you.
Absolutely.
But I had played some really cool decks and played against some big names. I think the first 2 matches I played when I jumped on the stream was against Day 9 and the Asian Avenger. So they're pretty well known streamers. So that was cool. But yeah, played a good mix. Played a mill deck that was not legal accidentally. Luckily I discovered it before I clicked play. But yeah, it was a bit of a guff, and had some good fun with the blue black Rogues deck from I think it might have been Plunksy's list maybe, or no, Lab Monkey gave us the list for that one, and a bit of white black clerics. The deck I was really keen to try the most was the Nahiri's lithoforming deck, like the deck playing the 40 lands with all the flip lands. I'm
sure that went well. Tell us about that game.
Well, yeah, unfortunately there was a bug in Arena, and when you sacked all of your lands that were the flip lands, it didn't register them as lands when they went to your graveyard, and so, I sacked a whole bunch of lands, and I got to go and fetch 1 land out of my library, and kind of got left going, what just happened there? And the person who I was playing, Samson I1, who again is a streamer I've watched a little bit of, he actually came and jumped in the stream after our game finished and explained that it's a bug that's going on at the moment. So yeah, a little bit sad to not get the chance to really sort of delve into that deck and see how good it was, but yeah, had a great time. Played a bunch of really cool decks, had a bunch of really good matches, and yeah, had an awesome time on stream. So definitely looking forward to the next one and hoping we get invited to that again. And yeah, hopefully Cracker, you can take the day off as well, and we can share the load a little bit more.
I think we can do that. I tell you what, I did have one interesting game that I played where I can't remember. I think I was playing the mono red deck. And so I was on the draw, sorry. So my opponent went land, go. I played a land. They played a Lotus Cobra. I played a second land. And then they played 9 mana's worth of spells in the next turn. In addition, so they played a land, cast an Uro, played a land, drew a card. So they drew a card, played a land, cast another Uro, drew another card, played another land, played a cultivate, played another land. So they drew...
Also gained 6 life.
They gained 6 life, yes. They gained 6.
Yeah,
they drew 4 cards and put 3 additional lands plus however much. Oh, no, sorry, they played 10 because they played a Gilded Goose as well. So I went, cool, that's a fun game. Here I am sitting with literally 2 lands in play.
And you're just doing it wrong, Cracker.
Apparently so. I was like, listen, man, at least if I was playing against Tron, the worst they could do is Khan me.
Yeah.
So we saw that at the early access events. I'm sure the new standard wouldn't have any sort of shenanigans like that going on. No. It's a lot different, right?
Obviously very good segue.
They don't play Gilded Goose anymore.
Yeah, they don't play Gilded Goose, yeah.
Yeah. But as everyone's been alluding to so far, and you've probably already heard, the terror that is menacing Standard at the moment is the 4-colour Omnath deck that Chewy had a bit of a go at on the early access event, and yeah, it's doing some very broken things. So we're going to have a bit of a look through the decks that are sort of starting to become the metagame of what we're seeing in Standard. And have a bit of, not a super deep dive into them, but just sort of explain what they are, and especially like this Omnath deck, why it's probably a little bit too powerful for Standard. So just we'll have a bit of a look at a list and talk about a few of the cards. It's 4 colours Omnath. If you can't remember or haven't seen Omnath getting around, so Omnath is its mana cost is red, green, white, blue, so 4 mana with 4 different colours for a 4/4 legendary elemental. And it says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So pretty good. 4 mana, 4/4 replaces itself. We talked about card valuation not that long ago, so yep, not bad there. And then it's got landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life if this is the first time this ability has resolved this turn. If it's the second time, add Omnath's mana cost, so red, green, white, blue. If it's the third time, Omnath deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. So, yeah, obviously you're playing this in a deck where you can make the most of those landfall triggers and get multiple triggers in a turn. So you're generating more mana, you're gaining, dealing more damage, gaining more life, all that sort of stuff. So the rest of the cards that are sort of going around that, we've got Lotus Cobra, as Cracker sort of talked about already. Cracker, do you want to tell us what Lotus Cobra is?
Sure thing. It is 1 and a green for a 2/1 snake. And it says, whenever a land enters the battlefield, so landfall, you may add a mana of any colour to your mana pool. So you put a land into play, you generate, let's say, a green mana, and then, hey, I have an island that I just put into play, so I can tap that immediately. So every land nets you a mana. So if you have 2 snakes in play, for every land you get 3 mana, basically. And so if you're playing Fabled Passage, people are playing Evolving Wilds in, like, top-tier Mythic. I have seen people with, like, 3 Evolving Wilds in their list, which is just nuts.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it generates 2 mana for every snake.
Yeah. So you're generating a ton of mana. What are you doing with that? What's obviously, you know, Omnath is a pretty good payoff on its own for getting all this extra mana, but that's not just what this deck is doing. Like, how are we actually, you know, winning the game and going off and making everybody so frustrated? What's the card that's doing that? It's
Chewy's favourite card that he loved at the pre-release event that we played.
I remember that.
It's Genesis Ultimatum.
And what is that?
Look at the top 6 cards of your library, I think it is, and put all non-land permanents into play.
Yeah, it's 5 cards.
So it's triple blue, 2 red, 2 green.
Yep.
And yeah, it's look at the top 5 or top 6 cards of your library, and yeah, you put them into play if they're a non-land permanent. Otherwise, you put them
into play as well.
Yeah. How about I just read the card?
Yeah.
It's got it in front of me.
Well, you didn't tell us to open the card.
And so you get a whole bunch of landfall triggers from the lands that you put into play, which give you more mana to cast the inevitable second copy of Genesis Ultimatum that you draw. So you can cast that. You throw in, you know, some number of Terror of the Peaks and, you know, extra Omnaths and Uros and whatever else that comes in, additional snakes. And it doesn't take too many Terror of the Peaks triggers and all of the landfall triggers and you just generate so much mana. You can just have one massive big busted turn where you generate 20 odd mana and cast, you know, 30 odd mana worth of spells.
The listeners now are playing. They're playing Kenrith to give everything haste, and they're also playing Ugin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah, so you're chaining together either your Genesis Ultimatums, which get you those extra landfall triggers, as well as drawing you extra cards and putting more of those permanents into the battlefield. You're also playing Escape to the Wilds, that is similar to Genesis Ultimatum, like you're exiling 5 cards from your library and you can play them, but you can also play additional lands with Escape to the Wild. So again, more triggers for your Lotus Cobra, generating more mana. So in one turn, you can very easily play your entire deck and win in some way.
Yeah,
this is from turn 4, right?
Yes.
Well,
consistently.
Escape is the perfect turn 3 play for this deck.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? So it's you can get ridiculous amounts of mana with Lotus Cobras as early as turn 3. You get turn 3, turn 4 Ugins going as well. Like it's just it's a bit too broken. I think the snake is a very, very powerful thing. And if you're playing a deck that doesn't have snake and you're playing and your deck doesn't have some way to deal with snake, the needle, whatever it is, the land that deals that can be an instant that for 1 red that shoots something for 1 and exiles it if it goes to the bin. You should be playing those if you're a red deck. If you're not, then I think you need to kind of go back to the drawing board with your deck building a little bit.
Spikefield Hazard is the
one.
land.
Yep.
Yeah, so you talk about a deck like that and you go, okay, yeah, it's trying to generate a bunch of mana and play a bunch of big spells. So obviously Lotus Cobra is an issue. Right, well, we'll just kill the Cobra. So, then it stops them from generating so much mana, and then they can't play all these big things early. Or you play a bunch of counter spells so you can counter all their big things. Or, you run discard effects and things like that. The problem that we're seeing with this deck is if you build your deck to deal with Lotus Cobra so you can kill small things, they just play Uro and just outvalue you with Uro and ramp up slowly and then just completely take over the game with their late game stuff that they've got. If you play counter spells to counter the Genesis Ultimatums and the Escape to the Wilds and the big spells that they've got, well, then they just play Lotus Cobras and generate a bunch of mana and outvalue you anyway because you are not going to have enough counter spells, and almost every card that they have in their deck is generating extra value for them or drawing extra cards. So it's actually a really hard deck to hate out, and I think that's why everyone's a little bit unhappy at the moment with this deck.
Dude, we're just sick of the last 2 years of Simic being completely OP.
This is 4 colours though, Cracker. This isn't Simic. It's not Simic's fault.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It's definitely not a Simic thing. I think the problem is that ramp has been a really good strategy historically for a metagame to have, where you do nothing in the early turns, right? For like turns 1 through 5, say, where you're doing nothing but trying to put additional lands into play. Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Maybe some mana dorks, and then it gives the aggro decks a chance to go underneath.
Yep.
The problem with these other decks now is the current iterations are starting with these cantrips and these life gain cards that bridge you from turn 2, right, when you can play Uro pretty easily, all the way through. And the thing is that their late game is turn 4, right? There's no, we have to get to turn 6 to cast our, Ugin the hard way on, if you've ramped a couple of times. So it's, I think that's where the frustration is. It's not that, it's just this with the rotation that was coming. Everyone was happy because, Nissa was going and, all those busted planeswalkers we've had for the last couple of years, which people were, tired of. It just kind of is did we actually lose anything?
Is part of the problem that, the best aggro deck, and we're talking about ladder here, the ladder metagame rather than any particular event. Mono red was kind of the warden, if you like.
Yeah, it's usually the fun police.
The fun police, yeah.
It just it helps to keep a format in check.
Yeah, and that lost a lot, right, with this rotation.
It did lose heaps, yes.
Yeah, it's still a deck. Absolutely, there's still a mono red deck that's out there and competitive, and it's still a good deck. But if you lose the dice roll and you're playing mountains and they, cast Genesis Ultimatum on turn 4 or something crazy, you're looking at the the Annex that's a 4/3 that you got in play going, I'm not going to get a chance to cast this Embercleave, you just, what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the aggressive one drop that they just printed. So it's the Wayward Guide Beast, which is red mana for a 2/2 with trample haste. You're sounds like Goblin Guide, except whenever it deals combat damage to a player, return a land you control to its owner's hand. So it's not as bad as it sounds. I've actually seen it play out in some Gruul decks where it lets you pick up your deal 1 damage things or your your mythic. It
plays really well with Brushfire Elemental, right?
Sure. But the problem is that it's just still not great, because what are you going to do? You can't play 3 of them and then attack and pick up 3 lands. You can only play 1 each turn. So yeah, it's certainly hampered.
When your opponent goes turn 2 Snake, turn 3 Uro, turn 4 play Omnath, play a Fabled Passage, gain 4 life, crack the Fabled Passage, and then just play a whole bunch of things. They've gained 7 life extra by turn 4, and then every land they play each turn, they're gaining another 4 life from Omnath. You just can't beat that as an aggressive deck.
And they're drawn to it extra cards.
Yeah.
And that with the aggro decks getting worse, and the aggro deck that seems to be, apart from mono red, is the red white warriors deck, which is either leaning on equipment, which is just inevitably a turn slower, even though, you go that bit bigger. So they're more mid-range. So these over-the-top decks have more opportunity to go over the top, or they're relying on the 4-mana 4/3 Angel that you can get more of them from their graveyard. So, but, you're like, oh, that's great value. I can have, play a 2-2 split or whatever it is and have this amazing value. Or I can just cast my 4-mana 4/3 and die the next turn to my opponent's ridiculousness. So, it's
Okay.
not exactly balanced at the moment.
So there is one deck that seems to be doing okay against it from what I've seen. And there's actually Dimir control, so blue-black control, and also I'm starting to see some Sultai lists coming up. But, I mean, they are super hard control decks, the ones I've seen, where they're playing literally 4 Shark Typhoons across the board. So 3 in the main and 1 in the board, and maybe 1 or 2 Ashioks. So they are almost winless control decks in order to be able to compete with these other things, so that they can kill Cobras with Eliminates or the 1-mana black removal. I can't remember what that one's called. Then they're also playing Essence Scatter to be able to hit Omnath, and Mystical Dispute to hit the Genesis Ultimatum and things. So there is that side of things, but it's still if you lose the dice roll and all your stuff doesn't line up quite right, which, control decks can typically have the problem of, they has historically used sweepers as a catch-up mechanic, right? So you would use Extinction Event to be able to get your way back in front with mid-range, and then, play a card, draw a spell or something like that. But these decks don't give you that window. So if it doesn't line up right, you just lose on the spot.
Yeah, you've got to have the exact cards at the exact time. If you have the wrong counter spell at the wrong time, or they get one spell under you, then you're just stuffed. Yeah. there's no catching up, and sometimes you don't have that turn to go.
There is no other turn.
They've played to the board, so I can just sweep everything. You just don't get that turn, and you just lose.
Yeah, I was playing a bunch of the Omnath deck, and the mirror is actually miserable. It's not a fun matchup to play at all. So I started to tweak my deck, and I ended up with a more of a Bant control deck that splashed red for Uro. Not for Uro, sorry, for Omnath. So I found myself, going that more controlling route, but still trying to do the broken thing. And I was having a whole bunch of success against the other Omnath decks because I had some negates and some mystical disputes in my main deck, and I had some sort of more alternate win conditions, and I had a number of Shatter the Skies, and I had all of these tools to beat them, and then I just found I just lost to everything else.
Yeah.
And
that's the problem.
Yeah, it was really frustrating. So I think something probably needs to give. I don't know what that is going to be or what that should be. Honestly, I don't know. I don't envy Wizards' position, having some pressure from the player base saying there's an issue here, and I'm sure they've got the numbers, but something needs to change.
Well, they tweeted out during the week, right, where they said, we're closely monitoring developments in Standard. In order to avoid disruptions this weekend's tournaments, we intend to provide an update on the format early next week.
Yeah. So we might have a look at some of the other decks, and then we'll touch on that at the end once we have a bit of an idea if there's anything that can beat it. Because, we've spoken before about there's no problem with a format having a best deck. That's fine. It gives everybody something to try and beat. But if you have to completely warp your decks to have any chance of beating that deck to the point where they can't beat anything else, that's when it becomes a problem. So the Dimir control deck, I know Gabe Nassif has been championing that deck a bit over the last week. So I don't know if you were watching his stream or not, Cracker, but
I was watching Croaky's play his lists, actually.
Yep.
And look, it was good, but there were still turns that you just go, oh, look, I lose the game. I was watching, from the other side, I was watching Andrei Strasky play last night on his stream, and he was just like, oh, I think I just win next turn. And he's got a Lotus Cobra and 2 lands in play. And then And then he's like, oh, cool. And then he just like plays another Cobra and just wins easily from his opponent being like, his opponent was on like 26 or something like that. And he just like 50'd them in a turn. It was just like, it's just insane. So
in standard, like, wow.
Yes, I know.
Well, that was like sort of maybe a last point to finish up on this deck. But you mentioned before Tron in Modern.
Yes.
Tron is a deck where once you get an Urza's Power Plant, an Urza's Tower, and an Urza's Mine in play, they tap for 7 generic mana.
Specifically Tower Mine,
mana.
right? Tower Mine.
Yes. And that deck in Modern, so, Modern powered deck, power level of cards, all that sort of stuff, 50% of that deck is just making sure you hit those lands. It's ways to find those lands and get them into play and get Tron on turn 3, and then all you do on turn 3 is you play a Khan Liberated, and you get to, usually you exile one of their lands, and that's it. That's the end of your turn.
It's usually the end of the game as well. Like the amount of times people, a lot of people will scoop to Khan on the stack on turn 3.
Yeah. But that's Modern.
Yes. And that is like consistently top tier 1.1, 1.5, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like pretty much always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's disruptible. Like there's plenty of ways you can stop that from happening and turn that into a longer game. And that's the big issue that we're seeing with this deck is it's not really disruptible, and you're not just doing one super powerful thing on turn 3 or 4, you're doing everything. You're casting your entire deck on turn 3 or 4.
But their longer game is so good anyway. Even if they don't hit that Genesis Ultimatum early and do stupid things, like they still are really good. Every card in their deck is value, and Uro just kills you.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we've spent half an hour just about talking about this deck. Let's talk about some other decks. So what else are we seeing? Obviously, Omnath's number 1, and Dimir Control's probably up there, but not quite the same. We mentioned before we're still seeing mono red, so I've always been a big mono red fan, and the deck definitely did lose a few things. You lost your runaway Steamkins, which is a big loss, and light up the stage. So you're losing a bit of card advantage, and you're losing that.
Engine.
The engine. That's the word I'm thinking of. But you're still keeping, like, you've still got your Fervent Champions, you've still got your Robbers, you've still got Annexes, Bone Crushers, Torbrands, Ember Cleaves.
Man.
Yep, you've still got a lot of the deck there. So the list that I'm seeing, a lot of them have picked up the 1 mana, the new step links, the Akum Hellhound. So it's a 0/1 for 1 mana, which is not ideal in a mono red aggressive deck, but it's got landfall, and when a land enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+2. So often you're playing that on turn 1, and it's a 0/1, but turn 2 you're playing your second land, and it's attacking as a 2/3. So
I love Curd Ape.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm yet to actually play mono red myself. I actually haven't even played a game since the early access, which is pretty slack of me, but it's a decent replacement for a good 1-drop, but I don't know how it'll go. The other one it's picked up is the Kargan Intimidator, which is a 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 3/1. The human warrior with cowards can't block warriors, and you can pay a mana to make other creatures cowards, or give your warriors trample, or pump a creature. So not bad. It gives you a few options of what you can do, and you can kind of make your guys unblockable sometimes, which is pretty nice. And
that card's really good. I played it in the early access event, and it gives you a lot of options.
Yep.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with how that played out.
I've been playing Boros Warriors a little bit on ladder in an attempt to try to get under the Omnath decks, and that card is either the best card or the worst card in your deck, depending on the matchup. It's really swingy. I found it to either be absolutely amazing and it'll win you the game, or it's a stone cold does nothing. Like it's everything that's bad about a 2 mana 3/1.
Yep, I heard today a little trick with this creature. Like when it turns a creature into a coward, so it actually removes all its other creature types. So if you're playing it with Winota, you can turn one of your humans into a coward and then attack, and you get an extra trigger from Winota. So just something to keep an eye on.
Mono Red actually did get a couple of good lands. Both the Shatter Skull Smashing, which is X red, and it deals X damage divided as you choose among up to 2 target creatures and/or planeswalkers. And if it's 6 or more, it deals twice X. and then you can pay 3 life to have it come into play as an untapped red source. That card's really strong. You know, just being able to have it as an early land drop. You kind of don't care usually about racing, and you'll usually shock in a land, or bolt in a land, I guess we have to call it now, don't we? Where you're willing to trade off the early damage to keep your mana up. And then, as you mentioned before, the Spikefield Hazard, which is a single red for an instant. It deals 1 damage to any target, and if a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile instead. Or you can have it enter tapped as a land. So they're both really good pickups, and it's nice for, I think all these, like, spell lands, I don't know what they're called, double-faced lands.
MDFCs?
Sure.
Modal double-faced cards.
Okay. Yeah. They all seem really good, actually.
Yeah.
I like the counterspell one a lot, the Force Spike one. It's really good.
Yeah, I tried playing that in the early access and ended up cutting it. But Mono Red's still in a good spot, and it's, as Mono Red always is, especially if you're playing best of one on the ladder, you can just have those games where you just win, like you're just super fast and you win. So still worth looking at. What else are we sort of seeing in the reasonable decks to be playing?
Rogues.
Gruul. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll talk to us about the Gruul deck. Cracker, what have you seen?
I mean, it's much the same thing. It's just that they're playing a few more landfall creatures. They're going a little bit bigger. They're getting a little more from the trample side of things. You know, your Ember Cleaves just hit that bit harder. So they tend to be playing that 2/2 I was talking about before, where you pick up the land when it deals damage. You kind of don't matter because you have more payoffs. The mono red deck really only has the 2, really. Although the 0/1 is the main one that you're wanting to kind of trigger. So it's much the same. It's kind of a base red deck with, you know, some green stuff thrown in to kind of help push through the extra bits.
I've seen a couple of versions of it running, like Edgewall Innkeeper with the Rimrock Knight and the Lovestruck Beast as well, obviously Bonecrusher Giant, just to kind of be that half a turn slower than the hard aggressive one, but have a lot more value. So yeah, again, like good deck, but sometimes has trouble going underneath the Omnath deck. But the other decks, people are starting to play the Dimir control deck to try to beat the Omnath. Having the extra, cards you get off the Innkeeper can be pretty pivotal in those matches.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've seen a bit of rogues?
Yeah, obviously Lab Monkey was on the money with the Rogues deck, seeing a lot of that, and it's kind of the fish deck of the format, right? Where it plays cheap removal in Eliminates and the
Blood Chief's Thirst.
Sorry,
Blood Chief's Thirst.
That's the one, the one mana card.
The 1 mana one.
Yeah, and that's a really important card. So they got a lot of ways to kill Lotus Cobra and a lot of ways to kill Omnath with triggers on the stack.
You've also got Drown in the Lock, which is either a counter or removal.
Yeah, that card, it's always been a really good card. Like, in a vacuum, you read Drown in the Lock and you're like, that's a good Magic card. But it hasn't really made a big impact in Standard until really now in this Rogues deck. So it brings that sort of versatility because, there are sometimes you want to kill, a red aggressive creature, but sometimes you want to counter an Omnath. And so it does both. And because, the majority of the deck plays at instant speed, you just keep the mana up and they go, okay, the green deck didn't do anything in the main phase. I'll flash in my evasive flyer, or if they did do something, you counter it, and then you just kind of pressure them with your chip damage. And the 2 mana 1/3 that pumps all your rogues if they've got, I think, 8 cards in their library.
Yeah,
can
in the graveyard.
Yep. In the graveyard. And I think we've all played. During Ixalan Standard, we all played the mono blue deck quite a lot. And I know, Cracky, you've played versions of that in other formats as well. There's a point in those games where you pivot between control and aggression, and the Dimir Rogues deck does that really, really well. So it's like, okay, I'm in a spot now. I've got control of the game. I've countered the key spells. I'm going to try and win now. And the Rogues deck does that. So I think the the skill to the Rogues deck is identifying if you're the beatdown and when to pivot. But yeah, I think once you've got a grasp on those in those matchups, I think it can be quite a good deck. And there's some flexibility in the card pool for that to kind of be a pillar of the metagame moving forward, that deck.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing that deck at the early access event. It was heaps of fun. And yeah, seemed pretty powerful as well. So hopefully, that deck continues and is actually a good part of the metagame, because it'd be a good deck to have there in that sort of top tier of decks.
Yeah, that might be the fun
Wasim?
police rather than mono red at the end of it.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
yeah, could be. Yep. You mentioned before you've been playing some Warriors, Chewy.
Yeah, it's one of those decks where a bit like my description of the guy that the 3-1. It's either a really powerful deck that, similar to mono red, where it's like I just won, but there are also a lot of decks or a lot of matchups or situations where you go, I don't have anything in my deck that can get me out of this situation, or my opponent's just doing things that are far too powerful for me to keep up with. If you could guarantee that you always won the dice roll, it'd be an amazing deck. But
it's the same for most decks, isn't it?
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, yeah. With the decks that are just going over the top as early as they do, it's having some trouble keeping up, and it's a shame because I think the power balance of the equipment in the format is good. Like
I really like the Maul of the Skyclaves. Like, I saw you playing that in the early access event, which is the 2 and a white, and it gives your creature flying in first strike and +2/+2, and when it EZBs, you can attach it to a creature. Like, I think that is really cool.
Yeah, it's a great card. Could you imagine that in like Mirrodin Standard? It'd be the best card in the set, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good card, and then there's the 2 mana 1/1 double strike, and equipped creatures have double strike, and then you've got a Lord. And like all of the ingredients are there, even a Planeswalker that, fits your theme. And we talked about when we previewed the cards, Nahiri is exactly where I want Planeswalkers to be, where they fit a niche really well and they're really good at the thing that they do. As long as the thing that they do is good enough, then, they should be a good card. But I think the thing that they do is good enough, except, there's this boogeyman that just goes over the top, unfortunately. So yeah, it's just not quite good enough to keep up with the current decks. If we hear an announcement next week and they ban a key card from the Omnath deck, maybe it, becomes the best aggressive deck. I'm not sure. It's kind of competing in the same space as the Gruul aggro deck, where it's not as like low to the ground, like throw everything at my opponent with no regard for, card advantage or anything, just trying to 20 my opponent. It's not as, linear as the mono red deck. It's got a bit more play to it, particularly having a Planeswalker. But the Gruul deck and the Warriors deck, I'm not sure which one's the better Embercleave deck. So, I think maybe Gruul has with the adventure cards, specifically Bonecrusher Giant just might be better.
Yeah, and Questing Beast is probably pretty hard to go past.
True. Yeah.
It's a very powerful creature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And some other decks I've been really seeing on ladder have been like a black-white clerics deck and just a mono-black deck that we saw a fair bit from previous standard on, just playing all the removal spells, playing Solemn Simulacrum, playing a whole bunch of just, card draw, mana ramp, removal, and Ugin. So that's as a way to try to attack the decks that are trying to attack Omnath a little bit. Yeah, so, okay. Yeah, I've been seeing a fair bit of that. But, yeah, I think there's a fair gap between that and the other decks, though. But you do see a lot of that on ladder, so just be prepared to run into that. The Black-White Clerics deck, which I think you played at the early access event.
I played a version Plunksy sent over, and, yeah, it was just, all the clerics and... There's a lot of synergies there with the all the clerics, the new clerics that we've got, as well as a few of the old ones. So, yeah, the deck did some pretty powerful stuff. There's a creature in there that we played called Aura, O-R-A-H, Skyclave Hierophant. It's a 2 white-black for a 3/3 core cleric with lifelink. It says whenever this creature or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. So obviously playing a whole bunch of clerics of varying mana cost, as well as Woe Strider. So you could actually sort of go down the chain with your clerics and sacrifice, a 3 or a 4 mana cleric, and then get a 3 mana one from your graveyard, and then get a 2 mana one.
It's a birthing pod, man. Birthing pod.
It's Soul Shift.
Yeah, playing. There's a cleric, a 2 and a black Demon's Disciple for a 3/1, and when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature or a planeswalker. So you can bring that back from your graveyard and then sacrifice itself to its trigger, and then bring a 2 mana creature back, and sort of go all the way down the chain until you get to Archfiend's Vessel, which is the 1 mana 1/1 that when it comes out of your graveyard, it turns into a 5/5 demon. So yeah, it was a really cool deck with tons of synergies. I don't know, obviously it was just a sort of a thrown together version that Plunksy gave us, but it's it was good fun. And again, that's the sort of deck where if that's good enough to be a good solid tier 2 deck, then that's a good place for standard. But unfortunately, I think it's probably like tier 4 at the moment. So
yeah, Aura is the buy box promo, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've mentioned it a few times already. The potential of banning. So, as Cracker said, Wizards tweeted out a couple of days ago now, I think, that early next week there will be an update to Standard. Now, no details on an update to the banner restricted list or anything of that sort of nature, just an update to Standard. And they were doing it early next week so that they didn't ruin anyone's weekends, but also we have coming up, there's an big SCG event on this weekend, and then in a couple of weeks there's the 2020 season grand finals event. So that's a big, what do you say, it was 32 player, 250 grand event.
Yeah, it's all of the top finishes from the Players Tours so far.
Yeah, and that's going to be standard and historic.
Invitationals.
Yeah. So
whatever they're called.
Yes. We don't know what this actually means. Everyone's kind of assuming it means there will be a banning of some sort, but I mean, literally the set hasn't even released in paper yet, and already everyone's crying for bannings. It's getting a little bit ridiculous that
it's funny. I think
like
we've been doing this podcast for nearly a year and a half now or something, and every single time a set comes out, I have a go at the Magic community for being a pack of whingers saying things should be banned, but in this time, I agree. I really do. I think this goes beyond just, change resistance and, people being sad because the thing that they want to play isn't good enough. I legitimately think something's broken. Yeah.
One of the scary things is that, Omnath was meant to be legal, obviously, with Oko and Once Upon a Time and those sorts of cards, but also was meant to be legal with Fires of Invention.
Do you know what? I actually really want to see someone do no ban Standard.
Yeah, I would love to. I said that on a cast a while ago. I would love them to just do a full unban and just do it as a special event on Arena.
No, not even that. Just every now and again, MTG Goldfish will do no ban list mod, right? Or something like that, where they'll just put the most broken things they can together. I want to see the most busted deck you can build out of the should be currently legal Standard pool.
We can do that.
Yeah. Is everybody thinking a one-day Beans event? Yeah.
Well, sure. Maybe we'll discuss that off air, and that might be something we can announce in the next couple of weeks. But,
all right.
Yeah, watch this space, kids.
You can play just custom decks against each other.
True.
So we could definitely do that. But yeah, it would be really cool to see. Although, yeah, it means people have to sort of spend wild cards on cards that they can't really use anywhere else. So they might not be too keen. But anyway, so yeah, I'm kind of similar thing with Chewy, where it's this seems just that little bit too far. Same thing. I hate it when Magic players just whinge as soon as the set comes out about everything's broken and the sky is falling. But this deck does seem to be that little bit too far, and I don't see it getting better with people just sort of figuring out how to beat it. Where do you sit on that, Cracker?
Exactly the same place. So after playing the event and like losing to that like 10 mana turn in a single like turn 3 or whatever, I was like, well, this is insane, but like it's an early access event. I'm playing new cards. These are not optimized lists. Yeah. Like this is a big pile of whatever. And we've always said, don't read too much into these things because people aren't playing interaction. People aren't playing older cards. The problem we've got is now people are playing the interaction and the older cards, and the 4-color Omnath deck has just got better, right? People have tuned it and made it better. And I don't know, man, like I was excited when they previewed Lotus Cobra. I was like, oh, this is sweet. Yeah. And they downshifted it from mythic down to rare. And like, we were all like, this is cool. This card is really fun. And it should be banned.
Yeah.
Relegated to Chewy's cube, I think.
Yeah, put it in the cube. Yeah, for sure.
So what are we thinking? So obviously, like, Omnath is the top deck. Are we going to see Omnath? Are we going to see Lotus Cobra? Like, are we just going to see them finally get rid of Uro?
Stupid. Nah, they'll do something stupid like get rid of Uro.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
And it won't be enough because it's just not. It's not enough.
We saw a similar thing with Emrakul, the Promised End.
Aetherworks Marvel.
Aetherworks Marvel. Yeah, they went. We've got like a flagship card of the format. We'll ban everything around it, not our pet card. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had a repeat of that.
They did the same thing with Hogak in Modern as well, and like it's one of those things.
At the end of the day, you can't really blame them. Like literally, the set hasn't even released in paper yet, and if the set comes out, we're recording on Thursday night. You can buy your packs tomorrow, and if they do an announcement on Monday or Tuesday next week, like the set will have been released in paper for 3 or 4 days, and then sorry, we have to ban one of our brand new cards that everyone's just bought their packs to get. That's not a good look. And yeah, I can see them only banning Uro and not doing anything else. So
is that enough though?
No,
because Uro's kind of there. Like it's a link in the chain.
Yeah,
and it's an alternate win condition.
I think it would go a long way to help, because like I was saying before, if you kill the Lotus Cobra, they just play Uro. Well, that takes out that, and Uro is also such a big factor in the like aggressive matchups. Just that gaining 3 life is pretty big,
and the 6/6 that comes in a couple of turns later.
Eventually, yeah. So I think it would definitely dampen it, but I think people would just build alternate versions that are probably more focused on just comboing off, and Omnath will still be a problem.
I've got a left field suggestion: Fabled Passage, or does it hurt too many other decks?
Yeah,
I actually think Fabled Passage is really good as like the fixing for a standard format. I really like it.
Yeah,
because it's not OP, but in conjunction with this deck, it is.
Yeah, so it's not the problem. It's being abused.
Yeah, it's being abused by other cards. So I wonder if there's other things that they can do instead, like introduce new cards to the format. Like,
I've been saying that for years.
What if they just went, okay, we're going to put in Thoughtseize and Fatal Push?
Ooh, yeah. Snap.
Right? Like,
I've been saying for years I would love to see them emergency
or Inquisition
print
or something.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just, throwing things against the wall here. I mean, the thing is, I was really excited for this standard set. Like, this is the first time that I've actually had like one of the pre-release things or the pre-orders like paid for. I got it for Father's Day, and I was like, I got 50 packs. This is so good. And so I was all like ready to start waiting a few days, see what shakes out, and then build some decks. And then like this Omnath deck comes out. I'm like, okay, like this thing is really powerful, but maybe there's something that like either I can build it or I can like find something that combats it. And then it's just, there's this announcement coming, and I'm like, well, now I have to wait literally a week before from the time that, the announcement got made to when we will get it. I think it's 6 days.
Yeah.
And then I have to wait to see what shakes out of that before, because like I have enough wild cards to build like a top tier deck, but I don't have enough to build 3. And so like I can't afford to like get all the triomes for exactly that I might need to build something. And then like Omnath gets banned, and then I want to build something completely different because, they're no longer useful or whatever. It's like, well, I don't get those back. I would just get the Omnaths back. So I've been talking in Group Cracker, #bestgroup. And there's a bunch of people who are feeling the same way. And like, there's this feeling of ban fatigue, which I have never actually felt particularly before, but I don't know if it's in conjunction with the fact that I'm like fatigued of being locked in my house as well. But
yeah, that certainly adds to it.
This one has just sucked, man. Like, this one just feels really miserable. Like, they just screwed it up really badly. And it's a new format that I was really excited to play. And I'm like, Shorty, I've loaded it up. I've opened my packs. I went, cool. I'm going to go do something else because I am not incentivized to play Magic at all. Yep. And that's terrible.
That's what Limited's for, man. That's what Limited's for.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of off it because, like, I enjoy Limited when I'm enjoying Magic. But, like, Constructed is the thing I play the most, right? Yeah. Like, I enjoy Limited when I get to it, but it's not the thing I'm drawn to. And so if I'm not turning on Arena for any reason, then, like, I'm not doing it to fire a draft. And particularly when there's still, like, 10,000 gold or whatever. I still don't think that they're particularly good value at the moment.
Well, my normal cadence with these things is I spend a season just accruing gems. As much as I can, converting gold into gems. So when a new set is released, I can, enter a bunch of sealed events or use gems as entry. And that helps me build my collection. And it helps me, gives me that time where I'm learning the new cards and finding the new interactions and things without spending all of the wild cards on standard decks. And the decks that I'm playing are probably like 80, 90% optimal. Like each deck that I've got has got, maybe 3-4 cards where it's like, well, I don't own another one of these mythics. So I'm going to, play, a replacement card, from what the consensus best build is, because I'm still jamming Limited and, I'll get those cards in prize packs or whatever. And then once I'm up for, once I've, the format's kind of settled and we know what the boogeyman is, and I can either choose to play that or one of the other, decks that beat it. But we've talked a lot about the new cards and how powerful they are and how much of a pain it is, but this Limited set's actually great. So for people that, if you, similar to Cracker and you're struggling, if you've got the equity in your Arena account, I highly suggest using this time, these next few days, do a few drafts, do a few sealeds, because it's a really fun Limited set. It's a little bit bomby, but I think that's good. In a Limited set, you don't want, grindy board stalls. Having cards that win the game is a good thing. So yeah, play more Limited. I guess I could say that at least 10 times every podcast, and still not say it enough. But yeah, maybe now's the time to hone your drafting skills, everybody. I think that's probably a good thing. There's another thing also. Sorry, I'll end my tangent there. I've been pretty good. We've been, like an hour in. I haven't tangented yet. But there's a thing that you've put in the show notes, Shorty, as a potential ban, more for a mechanical reasons than power level in Scoot Swarm.
Yeah.
So there was a thing that happened against me in the early access event, and I think I saw you were on the receiving end, and Day 9 on his stream was doing it a number of times where, for the first time ever, I saw Arena come up saying, if you don't do something different, the game's going to end in a draw. Because, all of the Scoot Swarm tokens were going off. Probably
should read Scoot Swarm. So Scoot Swarm is 2 and a green for a 1/1 insect, and it has landfall. Whenever a land enters a battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. So what's happening is, once you hit 6 lands and you start copying Scoot Swarms, every land you play, all of those copied versions of Scoot Swarms also trigger. And so you're ending up with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of triggers because, you copy Scoot Swarm a few times, and all of a sudden each land creates 4 more Scoot Swarms. So then the next land you play, that creates 8 more Scoot Swarms, and so on and so on. So yeah, I tried playing this deck a bit on the early access event, and I really struggled with it, and I sort of moved on. But I saw a screenshot of someone yesterday that I think they had about 800 tokens on the battlefield, and there was 1,700 triggers Scoot Swarm triggers on the stack, and Arena just could not handle it.
No. Well,
it also makes me wonder how
mutating onto them as well. So
yeah, with Migratory Greathorn, right?
Yeah, or they're playing the flying thing as well, so they can just like go over the top. It's nuts.
So if you mutate it and then copy it, it still has the same ability. So it's copying the mutated version of the creature, and very, very interesting. And it gives me the shudders, thinking how on earth you could possibly play this on a mobile phone when you've got so many triggers and so many creatures on the battlefield. But I don't know. Like, that just seems like someone's just completely missed the ball of going, oh, this is going to be a problem on Arena when all these triggers go off. Because if you're playing this in paper, it's going to be a little bit complicated to figure out, but you can go, okay, this generates 1,000 scoots, so I'm just going to write on a piece of paper, I've got 1,000 scoots, there you go, done. Whereas on Arena, you need to actually resolve those 1,000 triggers, and just sort of can't handle it. So
I think what they need to do is, instead of trying to do it all at once, it's like when you open packs, you can, like, if you've got if you buy your pre-release pack and you buy 50 packs or 45 packs, whatever it is,
you can do 10 at a time.
10 at a time. Yep. So they need to code into Arena. They need to recognize if there's 1,700 of this,
the same trigger.
You can resolve them. If both players can choose to pass priority.
Yeah, I mean, like, both players click resolve all, so all the triggers are resolving. It just takes. It's just got so much going on that
it does all the animations for each one, I think, is one of the problems.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on animation.
I knew you'd like that. I knew you would.
Well, I mean, it's got to physically create the token on your screen. So,
it does.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know, like, that might be their update to standard where they go, oh, Scoot Swarm's been errated. And that's it. That's all we see. So who knows?
Who knows?
Yep. But I think we've been going long enough. We might just quickly mention our league, as Cracker's already gotten in a quick shot.
Got to slip it in there, man.
Quick shot earlier. So, our league kicked off. We've been talking about it for ages. And, we did our live stream draw on Sunday evening. And, we had really good numbers of people from the league coming to view it, and a few new viewers that came and joined us in our Discord and things like that. So awesome to see the hype is continuing for our leagues, and everyone's excited. And everyone wanted to be that pack one, pick one in the draft. I think maybe next year with the draft, we might have to actually do it as a proper draft where we we draft a team. What do you reckon?
Rochester draft the players.
Yeah, I don't know how that'd go, but
we might have to set different. Some people might get upset, but if we set players into mythic, rare, uncommon, and common, and then the beans are just like the basic land that you get.
I thought they're the tokens in the back of the pack, right?
Yeah. I think we're opening up a can of worms if we go down that path, but it was a lot of fun. We had a great time, and we managed to sort everybody into our teams.
We did. We have teams this time, right? We're actually, for the first time, it's our biggest league, and we decided that just to kind of up the tension of who there was, instead of being group A, B, C, D, it's now group Cracker, Chewy, Stu, and Shorty.
Mm.
And I like that because, a bit of banter. I probably fueled the flames with the intergroup rivalry a little bit. I had a lot of fun with that in the last league. And it was really fun. It was a way to, it was a bit of a race during the group stage to see who could get all of the matches finished first. So it was a good bit of motivation for that, as well as gave you somebody to root for in the finals. And I think we had 4 groups, but we didn't have a bean in each group previously. So by just adding that as I don't know what we would call it, like just a namesake, I guess. Yeah, it's good. We get to have a little bit of banter along the way. Our group members get to have a bit of banter, and when we do the coverage, which we will do for the finals, which is coming up on is it the 1st of November? Shorty? Yep,
that's correct.
Got the date right. Yep. We'll be doing the coverage, and we'll have our champions, if you like, that will be providing completely biased commentary on. So I really look forward to that.
Yeah, nice. No, it's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty excited about this league. And yeah, Chewy, your group's actually gotten off to a pretty quick start. And I think Lab Monkey's been organising matches like crazy. And he's got straight off to a 4-0 start. So
he wants to get in before it gets banned.
Yeah. I think playing a bit of Omnath. So, but yeah, as you mentioned before, Cracker
against me when he beat me. So
okay, yeah, nice.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
But everyone's kind of stuck in a little bit of limbo, which is a little bit disappointing. We kick off these leagues and we like to kick it off and keep the excitement going and have everybody playing matches early because that helps us with our coverage later on. But yeah, it's kind of like new set. People are waiting to see what the decks are, and then now this announcement. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm literally not even gonna try and play a match until maybe the end of next week, and so that's 2 weeks of the league that we've missed out on. So that's something we'll have to look at next year when we draw up our schedule for all our leagues and stuff for next year.
Yep.
So we just have to account for Wizards printing bad cards that need to be broken and like banned in the first week. Is that what we need to do?
Yeah. I'm sure we can account for that somehow. I mean, Wizards can't do it, so maybe we can.
Yeah, we'll do it for them. Just like our coverage quality, we'll show them how it's done, right? So, also, if we were talking about the league, it would be remiss if we didn't spend just 10 seconds talking about the Magic Beans Invitational, which will kick off at some point in November after this league. So each of the leagues to date are contributing points towards the Invitational, where the top 8 finishers over the year of our leagues will enter into an invite-only event with some pretty epic prizes. So look out for that. We'll have more info on that. But that's if you're listening to this for the first time and you're like, oh, these guys run leagues. It's like not just leagues. We also do a leagues final in form of the Invitational. So get on to our Discord to get more info on that.
Absolutely, and I got a message from Jay Mudd a couple of days ago. He's been running the numbers on the Invitational, and he reckons we're going to have some interesting tiebreakers. So we'll have to work out our official tiebreaker system as we get a little bit closer to announcing who's made it in the Invitational. So stay tuned for that.
Whoever wins the no ban event can qualify. Maybe I don't know.
yeah. We'll figure something out. All right, so I think that's going to do us. We've been going pretty long tonight, so let's wrap this one up. As Chewy mentioned, if you want to get in on our leagues and things and all the different stuff we do, then the best place to do that is to get in our Discord. So the link for that is in our show notes every week, and it's also on our Twitter and Facebook. We have a merch store. If you want to help support us, you can buy some sweet Magic Beans hoodies and T-shirts and mugs and things like that. So again,
I recommend the almost meter-long mouse mat Commander playmat. I've got that in front of me at the moment. It's actually amazing. So
looks pretty sweet. Yep. So that just helps to support us. And shout out again to Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar for the support they show us with all the funds and things they give us for all of our leagues and things we do, all these free events with awesome prizes. So definitely go and check them out. Check them out on Facebook. Just search for Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar and check out their daily auctions and let them know when you win something that the Beans sent you, so they know that we're sending a few people their way. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch or Twitter, any of those places. Just search for Magic Beans Cast and you'll find us there. If you want to find me on Twitter, I am at Peace Inc. Chewy, you are?
At Chewy MTG.
And Cracker?
At JoelHill_.
Very good. So that's going to do us for this week. Thank you as always for listening. Stay safe out there and we will see you next time.